college. I graduated like around a year ago, or like I guess last year. Yeah, I graduated. So I'm a transfer student. I attend UC Davis. I'm doing sociology, and there's different concentrations at the school. So I'm doing the law and society one, and I'm doing a minor in human rights. And yeah, so I guess for fun, I like to like ride my bike or like just be out in nature and like write poetry and stuff like that. So yeah, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Delfina. Yuram, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Yurim. I'm at Cal State Long Beach. I'm working on my general sociology, but I do plan on going for grad school, focusing on school counseling or maybe social work. And a fun fact I like to do is I like to garden and be outside in the nature. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Catherine.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine. I transferred to UC Riverside in 2019. I chose sociology, and I'm concentrating on law and society. My goal is to go to law school, or if not, I'll go into social work. And I think that's it. Oh, fun fact. I really like hiking. Anything outdoors, I'm so ready to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. All right, Vanessa, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Vanessa. I transferred last year from Cerritos to Cal State Long Beach also. I am not focusing on anything in particular. I'm just doing the required courses, I guess. So I would like to apply to grad school. And I guess, fun fact, I enjoy traveling when I can. You know, pre-pandemic, traveling more freely would be nice.
Right, thanks for being here. And as everyone has mentioned, all of these alumni have very recently transferred. And so I wanted to, invite folks, especially who have been here maybe in the last year and a half, so you can get a sense of that, process, especially during COVID. I mean, who knows sort of where we'll be moving forward, but maybe let's start there. How has it been like transferring during a global pandemic? Anyone can hop in.
I think transferring during the pandemic, it had its pros and cons, mostly cons, I think, going to a new university, and especially if you're considering grad school, like having that that way of like communicating with your teacher or professor. When you think of like letters of recommendation, and having that kind of like only interaction is like on Zoom, I think has been really challenging. So it's kind of like, how do your teachers get to know you if you're only if you're only communicating on Zoom or even email if it's like asynchronous. So I think, yeah, it's been, I mean, the only good thing is like at the time we didn't pay for parking. So commuting was like 0 minutes, whatever, 600 feet to the bed, to the computer. So I think that would be like the only pro, but yeah, it's had some challenges.
Okay, so hi guys. Yeah, I definitely think there's like a challenge, especially like I was at Cerritos, right? Like during like the last year when like the pandemic was going. So it's like half of my classes like started like in person and then half of them started online. So like that was a bit like transition. And so there is pros there, like how she said, like we're kind of like just you can get up to class, like we don't have to wake up that early. But it's still like a little bit hard because you can't really talk with the teacher one-on-one. And so that's a bit challenging, but I think like once you transfer, like now you guys are in person, so it's kind of like better now, or like for me at least I'm in person. So it's kind of, I feel like easier to learn because you're focusing on what like the teacher's saying and you're kind of upfront, so you can ask questions easier than having to be on the computer or having to email and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say that doing school online was definitely a challenge in terms of motivation. So I would say the biggest learning factor was really amping up like my discipline of like, okay, I got to get these things done because it's so easy to let things pile up, especially when we were in person.
Urim, did you have anything to
Oh
share?
yeah. I think the challenge is like going to new university, like there's higher expectations. It's not the same from community college, but also motivation. It's easy to lose motivation, and like it's easy to like lose like the track of what you're doing, like miss assignments too. So but I think it's been quite of interesting during this global pandemic. So yeah.
Yeah, leave it to the sociologists to find it interesting, right? When everything is going to hell. Um, so you just touched on this, like higher standards, right?
Yeah.
That you're dealing with at your upper division work now. Could you
Yeah.
give everyone a sense of what that entails?
Yeah, I think at the community college, like I felt like most of the professors were lenient on assignments. But as I went to the university for upper division, like 300, 400 level courses, I felt like professors were very like strict about their assignments. Like if you don't cite correctly, for example, you get like -3 points or something like that. And their essays, it's more like intensive reading and writing at the university, not at the community college, especially in like classical theory, modern theory. There's a lot of reading and writing. So that's what I noticed.
For sharing. Anyone else want to speak to that?
I would like to add that there was definitely a transition period that I felt going from community college to UCR because at UCR at Cerritos, I was really comfortable with 18 weeks. And then when you go to a UC, you go into 10 weeks. And it was really intense because when you have midterms, your other classes don't like ease up. You still have assignments due the next day or the next class meeting, even though you have a full week full of just midterms. And it's really easy to fall behind if you let yourself, and it's really hard to catch up. Like, so I feel like after my first quarter, it was a big lesson of like, yeah, I can't choose like 3 hours to just watch a movie or something. I have to read or I have to do assignments. And um, when you first transfer, you sort of take a combination between whatever like under whatever upper courses or lower courses you need. But now that I'm fully in upper courses, a lot of my classes don't do assignments. We only have a midterm and a final, or a midterm and a final paper. So it's not hard. If I can do it, anyone can do it, I promise. And I think one of the biggest factors for me was that I kept thinking that like my mind, my ideas weren't like good enough, but really everyone has a voice. And so long as you are passionate about what you're writing about and have like evidence to back it up, your professors are going to be really happy with your work.
Anyone else, Delfina or Vanessa, want to speak to that? Maybe so the way standards has shifted or workload has shifted or the way that classes are organized or expectations from professors have changed?
So hi guys. So I'm in my first quarter right now at UC Davis, and it is really shocking coming in because I came like from the pandemic, and then it's like you're at this big school, and like I have to bike around. Like UC Davis is like very biking campus, so it's a little bit different with that aspect. But in terms of like my classes, there is a lot of reading compared to Cerritos. Cerritos, it's like you also read, but here I have to read like maybe like 30 pages or more every day in the classes. And so I'm taking 3 classes, but within the classes, there's like really dense readings that you really have to stay on top of, because with the lectures the next day, there's like discussions or those reflection papers we have to do for the sociology classes. And so at Cerritos, what I noticed is like I'm able to kind of explain more of like my personal sense, like how she said like it's important to be passionate about what you're writing about, but at the same time you have to have like, it's more like theory stuff also. So it's like you have to make sure you're using like proper sociology terms and like stuff like that. And the professors here, they're I feel like a lot more, what's it called, strict maybe in a sense. So it's like you kind of have to, it's like trying to think of the words. Like you have to be like on top of your readings, because that would help you with what you're writing about. But also they're kind of like sometimes nitpicky maybe in the stuff you write. And so you kind of have to be careful about like the assignments, and like how you said there's like not a lot of quizzes in like sociology upper division. It's more about papers, it's more about readings, and like the midterms are usually big paper assignments that you have to do, of like a research question, for example, in sociology, or like a certain topic. So mostly like for the upper division, it's just like papers and just heavy reading. So be prepared for that, because the quarter system is really fast and it's not really good to slack off, because that's actually going to hurt you and make you feel more stressed. So it's just really important to like try to manage your time and don't get too overwhelmed, but also like take a class that you maybe enjoy or you want to learn more about in sociology. So
Yeah, I would have to agree with everybody that the reading expectations were just like I'll write a to-do list and I'm like, oh, I only have to read 5 things by Thursday. And then that like one article or one reading is like 30 pages. And I'm like, wait a minute, why did I underestimate this? So that's a big jump in that terms. And then also just like a lot of my professors ask us to like really, it's not just like me talking about like, oh, this is what this was about. It's like, oh, looking at this stuff critically too. So it's like, I don't know, for me, I've always had more of like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm like better at regurgitating things than like and you have to really like not internalize it, but like really look at it critically and like, okay, how can we apply this to something or other? And I think that was like something that I had to like learn and learn quickly as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, you all are mentioning the UCs on the quarter system. That may be something that students at Cerritos think about. I think we're offering more 9-week sessions. So if you plan on going to a UC, maybe that's a good way to kind of like get used to maybe kind of that timing. We also offer 15-week sessions, which is much more like the Cal State that has 16 weeks, right? Cerritos is one of the only, I believe, community colleges that has 18-week semesters. It has something to do with like other programs that we have on campus or something. I wanted to go back to touch on, this came up a couple times, but Urim was the first one to talk about like citations. Can you talk about like what specific kind of citation are you talking about here, and like what tips would you have for people to prepare for that?
Yeah, we're talking about ASA, American Sociological Citation. They call it ASA, and like we have to have it in like a in-text citation, or we could direct paraphrase. But like we have to cite for everything in our papers to get credit. And like some tips I would say is, I think Purdue OWL has helped. I know they have MLA, APA, ASA. I know Purdue OWL has good websites. Even YouTube videos, I think maybe it could help.
Yeah, so I just dropped that link to OWL Purdue that has, formatting for ASA. Is everyone doing ASA or is anyone doing APA?
I've had classes that had both, like
Me
one
too,
class,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so APA being American Psychological Association, which is more broadly used in the social sciences, right? ASA being more specific to sociology. So getting familiar with that citation format can also be helpful. I'm also taking notes, right, as an instructor. Let's see. So Blake had asked, I think we kind of already addressed this, how much more work there is as in assignments, quizzes, tests. I think it sounds like across the board, for the most part, what you're going to get is a midterm paper and a final paper, right? So we're talking about readings and the challenge of the increased amount of readings. Can you all share some tips? Like, how are you navigating that? Like, what is your strategy to getting through the readings and making sure that when you do get to the essay writing that you can recall important stuff? What are your strategies there?
So for me, like I'm still learning in the process of that. But I guess like so far what I've done, I think lectures are really important in college, and it kind of like combines with like citation as well. So just make sure like you pay attention to the lecture because that would help you in the reading. So it's kind of like a reinforcement. So as long as you're kind of reading, get like the main ideas, like you take notes when you're reading, that will help you. So when you're in the lecture, you kind of have a review in your mind and you kind of like can participate a little bit. So that actually helps you with the papers, I feel like. And also like it's important to write down like the lecture or important things the professor says, because the lecture itself can be cited in your paper. So like let's say the professor says something about race, and there's like something you mentioned, like you can put that in your citation and that counts as well. You just have to put the last name of the professor and the dates. So that's also well. And also like try not to overwhelm yourself too much, and like try to like set your days where it's like, okay, on this day I'll focus on this class, or on this day I'll focus on that class. So honestly, managing your time is really important. But also like try to reward yourself as well. So like going to a cafe or something that kind of makes you feel happy, where you're able to kind of focus and not just be like in your dorm is at, or in your house, or where you're studying at. So kind of have a place where it's like, okay, I'm gonna put my phone away. So turning off my phone has actually been helpful for me. Just for like a little bit, because it's kind of like distracting, or you don't want, it's important to like maybe turn off your phone, like I'm gonna read this article and turn off my phone for like an hour or something like that. So that actually helps as well. So I kind of recommend that too.
Yeah, similar to Delphina, it's just that for me, yeah, following the PowerPoint, because it's when they assign chapters, it's really easy to kind of get lost in like, because you may find an aspect of like the chapter really important, but maybe it's like the focus is like, I don't know, for example, like delinquency or something. And then so you just kind of, to me, I reference the PowerPoint a lot. Just to kind of like, okay, stay on track, like we're focusing on this. And so I think referencing that, and then it kind of like gives you like a roundabout, like, okay, these are the themes, like this is what I'm looking for in these chapters, to whether you're writing about it or participating in discussion and things like that. And yes, the phone and time management. It's so easy for, especially when you don't want to do something or the reading is dense and you're not understanding it. It's so easy to just grab your phone and like start distracting yourself. But yeah, putting it somewhere, just trying to eliminate distractions. So for me, like being at Cerritos, I would go into like the library with the little walls and like put everything in my backpack and just sit there and like, but that's just for me to like get my own habit of like not grabbing my phone and not having it next to me. But like that's how badly I needed no distractions, is that I needed to be in a cubby and like just staring straight at a book or an article, and that's it.
So I would like to add that like every time I'm getting ready to do an assignment, I always tell myself done is better than perfect. And because these readings are so dense, it's so easy to get into this mindset that everything is important. And no, it's not. A lot of these things are fluff. And one of my professors gave to me this outline of like how to do these types of readings. And one of the things I like the most is that if there's a conclusion, read that first. read the conclusion first, because that's going to have like the main parts of the reading. And then when you do an outline of your reading, make sure you do an outline if you can. You will know which points to, you'll be able to see, okay, which one's important and which ones are just examples and which one is just fluff. So that's helped me a lot.
And so we've dropped that those tips in the chat. So recommend that you guys download that and save that for now, really, right? To beginning those habits. I think everyone answered that question. Kaser has a question. How did you ultimately pick your school of choice, and what went into that decision? Yuri, maybe you can start.
Yeah, I chose Cal States because I prefer hands-on. I wasn't really interested in research. I wanted to go maybe a career that focused on hands-on or maybe something practical. And like I knew Cal State Long Beach was a local campus nearby. So I just wanted to go somewhere close.
Good. Vanessa, you're also at Cal State, so tell us about.
Yeah, so my decision was I lived in Long Beach at the time, and so for me it was just commuting made more sense. I'd also applied to like Cal Poly Pomona and even Fullerton, but I think because I had visited the campus so much, because I had friends that were attending it, to me I felt like Cal State Long Beach was like more of a fit for me, and it was only a few miles from my apartment. And so to me, it was just kind of I had all my eggs in one basket. I was like, I just need to get into Cal State Long Beach, and that's what I want. So that's what went into my decision.
Hello guys. For me, it was kind of a hard decision in a way, because it's like you kind of have like sometimes like family members are like stay here or go there and stuff like that, or just like that. So ultimately, like it's important to listen to yourself and what you feel is like the right decision for you. So for me, I just kind of like applied and to see what happened, to be honest. But once like the schools accepted me, then I looked at the schools and said, okay, where do I think has maybe the program I'm interested in, or kind of just research the sociology department. Because like for example, I had no idea UC Davis has different concentrations. Like at this school, we have like law and society, social policy. We also have like public policy, and like other like concentrations at the school. So it's kind of important because like each school has like their own uniqueness to the sociology department. So that's also very important. So it's like if you're interested more like in law, like check out the different programs, or interested more like in social work, there's different programs for your interests. So it's still a sociology degree, but you kind of have like extra classes of like other fun classes. So for me, I kind of wanted to do a lot of things. So like when I met with the counselor here, they recommend the law and society emphasis, which was really unique to me, and like the human rights minor. So think about like if you wanted to minor in something, check out the school that has like the minor you're interested in. That also kind of played in my decision. And like I liked it because it's like right by Sacramento, and it kind of has like, you know, the whole government type vibe. And then also I visited the campus as well, because you want to be able to make sure like you can fit in the school, or like not fit, but that you feel comfortable, or that you feel like that school, like you can see yourself in that environment. And like, so for me, like UC Davis has a lot of trees and like flowers and nature, and there's a bunch of biking and stuff. So for me, I really like that, because I wanted to like try to be active and stuff. So that school kind of helped that as well. So that part. So look at like the academic part and like the sociology department, and also like the school environment. That's also really important, because you want to be at a school that kind of makes you feel happy, you know, like you like the vibe it gives. So yeah, that's like my recommendation.
So I only got into Cal State Long Beach and UC Riverside, and I had a lot of family pushed me to go to Cal State Long Beach, which I was happy to do. However, not to speak ill of my family, but it's not really an environment that is like academically supportive. And it was in the back of my mind that I knew if I went to Cal State Long Beach, I'd still have to live with them. And so choosing to go to Riverside meant going into an environment that I had more autonomy in and more control of. So that what really like set my mind to UCR was it's one of the most diverse campuses in the UC system. Not to say that Cal State Long Beach isn't, but UCR also being diverse really made me feel like, okay, this is a space that's for me. And the campus is surrounded by mountains. That really made me happy. You know, you can drive like 5 minutes and you're at a mountain or a park or a trail, and yeah, you can just go have fun, go hike. It's almost like being in another world, you know, for an hour or two, and then you come back and then it's time to go study or meet with someone or do a project or something. Yeah, so that was what made me really was to be in an environment that I had more control of.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing that. You know, and what this really shows is everyone has their own personal perspective on what, you know, helps them make that decision of where you end up. And it sounds like y'all are happy where you are. So I'm glad to hear that. Alicia was asking a clarifying question. I think this was for Urim. She says, are you saying UCs are more independent and less empirical? She says she wants a healthy dose of both abstraction and hands-on work. I think your emphasis, Urim, was like on hands-on, right? And so how did you make the assessment, and what do you mean by that?
I think wherever you go, there's like a mix of like research and hands-on. But I know that UC is more like emphasized towards research, and Cal States are like a lot of it is like based on hands-on. Yeah. But wherever you go, I think there's both of mixed though. Because like from what I am aware, is like I know Cal State Long Beach, for example, because I had a class last semester and this professor was like, he was giving us a research opportunity for the class to participate. For those who are interested, not it's optional, not everyone has to do it, but like there were a lot of students who were interested, and he was like, oh, this class is both hands-on and research. So I think it's a mix of both, but
yeah, and I think to add to that clarification, Alicia, you know, UCs are R1, research one institution. So that means like their priority is research, right? Whereas at Cal State's, while faculty does also have to do research, I would say from what I've seen in particular at the sociology department, there's a lot more sort of community involvement with like community orgs and sort of on the ground kind of work. So it's not that it's less empirical, right? But there's just sort of a different angle that these different institutions might take on. Let's see, there was a question. Emily is asking, is there much support from professors as there is at Cerritos, or is it more independent work?
I found it to be the same as Cerritos in terms of like support, even online. You know, I would go to office hours on Zoom and stuff, and it was, you know, they're there. If anything, I think sometimes it can be, they can offer more support in terms of like whether I was comparing it to in person and online, because a lot of teachers emphasize like, oh, you know, of course, because of online learning, like if you can't attend my Zoom office hours, just send me an email and we can set up a different time. So I think in that sense, like there was a little more flexibility of being able to meet with you. But that was just my personal take on it. I think it's still hard if you're a student, like you know, sitting in class and or asking questions or being able to have that space to like go to somebody and talk, as opposed to like sometimes people can't ask questions in their environment and things like that. So that also might be a barrier, but I thought I got equal support as I did from Cerritos and Cal State Long Beach in terms of professors.
For me, I feel like at Cerritos, I felt more comfortable because the classrooms are a lot smaller, and the environment is a little bit, you know, smaller in general, so it's kind of easier to have that one-on-one with the professor. But so far, like, this is my first quarter, and I think the professors have been like extremely like nice, and the sense where it's like you can like talk to them after class. They are more busy, I feel like, or I think all professors are busy, but they're a little bit more what's it called, like they're kind of like kind of like on this go type of thing. But I think like they're able, like, for example, like the email system is a little bit different at the UC, or like with my experience. So it's kind of like there's mostly like TAs, and they're usually the ones who are kind of looking at your work. And professors are more there to like teach you what the work is. But I think that as long as you like kind of set your foot in the door, and like you kind of be brave and ask questions, and like kind of talk to them so professors know your face more, it's like easier. Some of my classes are smaller though, compared to one of my classes, which is like super like 200 or more students, and that's a little bit harder to be one-on-one. But I think also like sitting in the front helps as well, with communication as well, because they're able to kind of put a name to the face. So I think that's important too. And like don't be shy, and like try to like ask questions, and like as long as they see like you're interested in stuff like that, it's more easier to have like to have more of that relationship with them.
I definitely agree with Delphina. I felt I had a lot more interactions with my professors at Cerritos College than I do here. But that's not to say that they've never made themselves available to me. There's always office hours. There's always an email. They will always get back to me whenever there's an issue or a comment or a concern. I will just say that when you go to a 4-year, there's a lot more people. Everyone's schedule is filled. So professors might be available at like the same time. So you have to like pick and choose which one you can go to that week. I will also say that I think I communicated more with TAs, because like our professors are doing research, right? And then the TAs are assisting them, and the TAs are running discussion courses throughout the week to like better explain what lecture meant. Which I will say is a lifesaver. Always go to discussion. And the TAs are also like, they're only a few years older than you. So, and they had probably just finished graduating or remember being a student. So it's also, it's sort of like they're the middleman, but you do have access to your professor, but the go-to is always to get to the TA, because there could be like 300 other students with you. And so that's why there's always like at least 3 TAs ready to help.
Did everyone get to answer that question? I don't know. Urim, did you?
I felt the same equal support from Cerritos too, like what Vanessa was saying. Because classes are online, I feel like there's more flexibility in office hours, and I feel like you could just drop by, or you could just stop by to see your professor if you need help. And I think it's been very flexible, and I think all professors are willing to help from what I am experiencing.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So you heard like common responses from Catherine and Delphina, because they are at UCs, right? So there's going to be that TA that's going to be grading a lot of the undergrad work and being sort of the first point of support, right? Whereas for Vanessa and Urim, there's maybe more easier access to their professors, right? So that's one of the distinctions that you might consider, when thinking about where to transfer. Lena is asking, have any of you guys gotten opportunities to do any volunteer work, internship, or other activities?
I got the opportunity I'm a TA currently for one of my teachers. And through being her TA, she asked me to participate in her research project. So I'm like conducting focus groups, which has just been, something I never personally saw myself doing. I didn't think that, one, I knew enough about anything to like really participate in it. And and yeah, I just didn't see myself like being asked to do something like that. So I think, yeah, and even during Zoom courses and stuff like that, like I feel lucky that I was able to like establish that kind of a relationship with my professor and get those opportunities to do research. So yeah, I've had experienced one.
Can you tell us more about like what the focus group was about? Like what was the subject?
Oh yeah, so we currently are looking at like things that students, it's like about high impact practices. So students in other majors like participating in research, and we're just trying to figure out like aspects that we found to be very helpful in their participation with research in regards to like their research mentor, and even during dealing with COVID, how they continued to participate in research, even though you know, there's at the beginning of it, some, you know, sometimes labs were completely shut down and stuff like that. So we were just looking at like success, I guess, trying to define like what success is in terms of like research for students in undergrad. So it's been pretty cool.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gotten any opportunities or seen opportunities or thinking about taking on some opportunities? What's going on at your campuses?
So at UCR, there's like a newsletter that you get every week that is that are asking for participants for like research work for like them to conduct their studies. I personally have not taken advantage of those opportunities because the opportunities I've gotten are actually from past professors that I had at Cerritos, like where I've like stayed in contact with them. And I got, through one of them, I entered into a law program with LMU, Loyola Law School. So I haven't, which is why I haven't really been active in taking one here, but there's always like every other week, there's like a fair career or a career like center fair where they'll take, I want to say it's like Teachers of America, like they come, and also the Peace Corps, they come here a lot too. So every like at least bi-monthly, there's always like a fair here for students to come and to apply to like their programs, so that way they'll have options when they're ready to graduate.
Hi guys. So at UC Davis, there's also like a newsletter like Research Riverside that kind of, you know, shows about like research opportunities, but also professors will also send out emails. So a lot of the stuff that I've heard about is from like my own professors itself that kind of send it on Canvas, because we use Canvas as well at the UCs. And so there's also like club days. So like a lot of the club organizations have volunteer opportunities. So I joined one. It's like more of like Chicano focus. It's like a women group. And so you do volunteer work at the campus. We have like fundraisers for like breast cancer. We had like a breast cancer walk last week or this past weekend at Sacramento. So there's things like that. My professor sends out like this, there's something called Aggie Square, which is like related to UC Davis, where it's like you go out in Sacramento and you do like some type of like classes. So like sometimes there's internships that have your classes included in them. Like it kind of sounds confusing, but there's like, for example, like the classes you take during the quarter system could be included in the internship itself with the internship volunteer aspect of it. So I applied to one this quarter and I'm attending in winter. So I haven't attended it yet. But what it is like for 3 months, I'm gonna be working in Sacramento for like I have 3 classes, which is like sociology related, like our major related. So one sociology class, a political science class, and I think a human rights class. So if you're interested in maybe like human rights stuff, or there's different like sociology type internships. So this one is like focused like on immigration and refugees. So in Sacramento, like I'll be taking my 3 classes with professors in Sacramento, and then I'll have my internship there as well. And so the internship is like working for like a nonprofit organization with like either Spanish speaking or like Arabic speaking population people. So there's a lot of things I think like at the UC schools or even at the Casa Long Beach probably where it's like you can have an internship that's like with your classes. And I think that's like one of like I think it's a good thing because it's like your time is focused on your class. And so you get to focus on like, your academic, but then you could also like do something that's like hands-on with what you're learning. So try to maybe find something like that. A lot of the UCs have that, or your professor will send out emails. So just kind of like being involved and don't be afraid. Like I was kind of afraid, but I realized like the worst they can say is like literally no. Like that's what they can say. So like don't be afraid to like put yourself out there because you never know. They could say yes. So that's all I have to say. Like just like don't be afraid to try something new because the worst they can say is no.
Yurim, did you have anything to share about internship?
Yeah, so at Long Beach, well, I first struggled with finding internships and opportunities, but then one of my friends in my migration class this semester, she told me to join an SSA at Long Beach, the Sociology Student Association Club, and I joined. And like through the club, we're trying to do this nonprofit organization called Long Beach Moving Forward. I don't know if you know, but we're trying to contact, I forgot the lady's name, but we're trying to contact her and we're trying to do something with taxes. And then through the club, we're trying to do like hygiene kits for holiday season, for like Thanksgiving, Christmas, for like domestic women's shelter, or like we're trying to like do some kind of like hygiene kits for homeless people. And then we're thinking about fundraising too for like cords and sashes for graduation. And then for next semester, I plan on taking an internship class though. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so lots of opportunities. Aiden, asking a question that I had on my list too. What are some things you wish you knew before transferring? Jeopardy music, everyone's sort of thinking.
At the top of my head, I would say I wish I had like, oh, it's kind of personal, but like if you aren't transferring with like a lot of people that you knew like back in Cerritos, it is kind of lonely. You're coming into a new environment and the support system that you built at Cerritos College isn't ready for you at your new school. So I think I wished I'm sorry, I wish I had prepared more for that, where it's like being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. And then I wish I had increased my discipline more. Not to say that the professors at Cerritos didn't prepare me, I didn't prepare myself. Like I like for doing all those readings, I wish I had told myself, you're doing this first and then you can do whatever fun activity first. I mean after. I wish I'd built. So if you're thinking about wherever you are transferring, you're going to have to build up your discipline no matter what, whatever school you go to. So I would say mentally prepare for that. Even start now, where there's an assignment or there's a reading that you feel like you can get away with like not doing it. Do it. Make yourself do it.
I think the same as Catherine is like you don't like prepare yourself for like the loneliness, I guess. Because like the school is so huge. So it's like people like you're meeting people from like all different types of like parts of California. So it's not just like, oh, like Norwalk or like these around areas, LA County. It's kind of like everyone. So it's kind of like there's a lot to like really like put yourself out there type of thing. And like that doesn't mean like you're lonely, like she said. Like it just means like it's a bigger school and it's a little bit harder. And I think also like I feel like I didn't really prepare myself a little bit with like discipline, like how she said, like there is a lot of reading and there is a lot of work. But the good thing is it's like classes you're actually interested in. So it's nothing like general ed where it's like math or something else, science or whatever. It's like classes you actually enjoy. So that actually helps with the motivation because it's like something you actually enjoy learning. But I think, yeah, like how she said, like kind of like prepare yourself now, try to manage your time, try to like do your assignments ahead of time so that you're not stressed later. Because there is a lot of pages you have to read. It's not just like maybe 5 pages, it's like a lot more than that. So I think preparing yourself with that as well, and like be okay with just, it depends like too, like if you're planning to go to a UC school and it's farther away, be prepared also for that independence because you're going to be cooking your own meals, you're going to be cooking, going to the hall, but riding your bike to your classes or driving to your classes, so it's a lot more independence as well. So kind of like managing that as well, kind of have that in your mind of which school you want to choose. So that's like important too, so yeah.
I think for me, I something I wish I'd known before transferring is just I wish I would have really emphasized or really learned or I mean I still can, but I mean to write better. I think that is for me personally, that's always been my Achilles heel. Like I've always very much like not good at organizing my essays. I feel like I always have too many thoughts to like really write it down and convey it. So I think that I struggled with that. And if you don't really like work on it now, I feel like the feeling of avoidance because you don't want to fail is even harder going for me anyways at Cal State Long Beach. Every time I have like a paper or something, I'm just always like think it's the end of the world. Maybe cry a couple times before it's due. I don't know. But yeah, and then also just I mean this is just like a funny thing, but your campuses from Cerritos to like wherever else you go are just so much bigger. So give yourself time to walk to class and consider how long it's going to take to park all the way far. And this is like a 20-minute walk to like get to your class. So even more than that. So I definitely, yeah, campuses. I mean, especially you, Delphina. I visited UC Davis in the summer and the Arboretum's so pretty, but I was like, I can't believe I can't even see the campus yet. It was huge. So yes, preparing for lots of walking, which is a good thing. But yeah, parking and walking is far.
Urim, any thoughts?
For me, I would say writing too, because for all the time for me, I always struggled with writing, like especially like synthesizing. I think it's been hard. Like I have ideas, but putting all that together in like one solid like document has been hard. And at the university now with like professors expecting like, especially in like modern theory, classical theory, we do have to read like 30 to like 50 pages at least a week. And they do expect like 5 to 6 page essay, and they're due like they're 2 prompts, like maybe 2.5 to 3 pages each. So it's like, yeah, we have to like know how to write or else we'll get put in stock. But I think writing has always been a struggle, but like learning how to write better.
Okay. Are any of you using some of the supports on your campus, like writing centers or writing coaches?
Yeah, we're using like Grammarly. Do you guys know Grammarly? Like it's like a website where it revises your sentences. It's like revising, like if you copy like your paragraph and paste it, like it revises and it's good. Like I've used it before and it helped.
Yeah, I think the writing's fun. Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say that there's a student success center on campus. That basically they just have open hours where you can come in and you can bring in your papers, or even if you don't have, you should always have a paper, or you should always have like an outline or something for them to look at, because like they don't want to like write your paper for you. But yeah, there's also a transfer success center here too. Basically, they they have a lot of workshops like about time management, about reading, about writing. Like they just have a lot of different things on their schedule to help transfer students specifically, and also to help any student specific any student in general when it comes to transitioning from when it comes to being on campus. And yes, they do have writing centers that have been really, really nice to me.
Vanessa, did you want to add?
Oh yeah, no, it's just the same as what Catherine said. I use like the University Writing Center at Cal State Long Beach, and they've been really supportive. And something that I didn't do at Cerritos that has helped me more so is like the papers, my past papers that I would already get graded on. I would bring those to the University Writing Center, and we would just kind of like pick apart like the areas that maybe I would have gotten like that I got docked or something, and then we would go over that, and I would revise it even though I'd already turned it in. It just helped me practice more for the next exam or the next paper, so that's been helpful.
Yeah, awesome. So it sounds like although there are those challenges, there are also the supports that are available to help you improve your writing, so that's good. And then of course at Cerritos College we have Success Center, and we have support as well, so you can get into the habit of leaning on those resources, which I think is a good one of our last questions. We'll see what we have time for. What resources are at either or at your campus, right, that you're utilizing that you think people should know about, or what resources were at Cerritos College when you were here that either you wish you used or you're glad that you used that you would recommend to others?
At Cerritos, I feel like definitely like the Success Center. Like this is like your best friend at Cerritos College, whether you're taking a math class or you're taking like a writing class. Because it's always good to just get your essays checked. So kind of like helps you, so that prepares you too. So honestly, that's like what I would say. And then every school, like whatever school you transfer to, try to find their Success Center there, and like just get help with like your papers and stuff.
I would say a resource that helped me a lot at Cerritos was like I forgot the title of it, but it's like the health center where you can go talk to like the school psychologist. That helped me a lot while I was at Cerritos, just because of the things I was struggling with personally. And I've used it a good amount of it at UCR as well. It's called CAPS. It's free. Any student can use CAPS while they're at their school. I believe it's 8 sessions a school year. I would only say that from other students that I've heard at like UC Berkeley or UCLA, CAPS has been really difficult for them to get an appointment with, where like you have to plan a month in advance. But when you're a student and you're in crisis, you're not planning that a month in advance. You're gonna still be in that crisis, or that you will be out of it. So for UC Riverside, for whatever reason, you can get an appointment within like 3 days. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so I think that's a good opportunity to let students know you already pay for access to the Student Health Center with your student health fee every semester that you pay. So there are like flu shots and COVID shots and those kind of direct things, health, physical health things, but also mental health services that are available to you all. Yuri, I don't know if you had anything else to share about either Cerritos or Cal State Long Beach.
Yeah. At Cerritos, something that helped me was the transfer center. I was able to get more requirement information to transfer instead of like just guessing what I need to transfer. I think there's a difference between guessing and then knowing the exact requirements. But also at Long Beach, what has helped me was like TRIO or the EOPS program. I know at Cerritos they had EOPS, and I think that helped me kind of navigate.
Yeah, awesome. And it's a good plug for Brittany, our transfer counselor, who's going to start in just a minute. So before, I don't know if you guys have to go. I know Delphina has to make her way to a class, but can you just fill us in sort of what's next? I know you're in the thick of it, but what's next for everyone?
Yeah, just trying to get through this semester. And then my spring semester, I'm actually gonna study abroad. So I'll be finishing my senior year in Florence, Italy. So that's really exciting. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And then come back to graduate, and then we'll see. I don't know, apply to grad schools. So I think that's what I'm doing next.
For me, just like trying to survive the quarter system. Kind of don't stress that much. Mental health is important. So check that out on your campus. And then just try to prepare too for like the internship I'm gonna do. I'm excited. So I have my classes that are like tied to my major, but then I get to do like a nonprofit work, which I really like outreach. So that's like my plan, I guess, next. So nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Delphina.
Same here, just graduate and start applying to grad school, law and social work, see where I land.
Yurim, you have thoughts?
Same here, just graduate next year in spring and then apply for jobs and then go to grad school. I don't want to go grad school right away because I want to gain experience, like, because I think it's important to gain experience rather than just going grad school. Like, it might take 1 or 2 years. It doesn't matter. We just need the experience. Yeah. And I think that's really important. Yeah. Like taking a gap year. Maybe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Good perspectives. Thank you all so much for sharing your time. I'll be in touch with you, follow up on, we're trying to get together some funds to make sure you guys can get paid for this hour that you've spent with us. So really appreciate it. Good luck on navigating the quarter system and finishing the semester and graduating. Please stay in touch. Would it be okay if I shared your emails? Like if anyone got in contact and wanted to follow up with any of you?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Bye. Thank you so much for having us.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, transfer counselor Brittany Lundin from the Transfer Center that Yurim just mentioned is here with us, and she's going to go through all the stuff that they just told you is really important. How are you doing, Brittany?
I'm doing well, thank you. I apologize for jumping in and out a little bit earlier. I actually set it up so I had psychology at 11 and sociology at 12, and I switched the Zoom links, and I was like, what did I do with this? So I apologize for that. Thank you so much for having me come in today and talk to you all about transfer. This is a great time of year to come in. Are any of you finishing next semester? Next semester is your last semester at Cerritos College. If you give me a thumbs up or a clap or whatever you'd like to do, just to kind of tell me. Okay. So we got Brooklyn here, we got Blake. Oh, there we go, Sarah. So we have a couple of you that are ready to transfer. And so for those of you who are ready to transfer, now is the time to do your application for fall of next year. And so that's, I think, why it's so important that we come in and talk, is just this idea that you have to do everything in advance. Everything's been done like a year ahead of time. And so you have to really plan for that. And so when I'm coming in today to talk about some of the requirements for admissions, it's to kind of, to put that in your brains, to, somewhere in the back of your head, when I have a year left, when I'm in my last year here at Cerritos College, I should be looking at the application process. So, because that's when you're going to be doing your applications. So I have a little PowerPoint that I can go into that talks about some of the minimum requirements for admissions. just for what it's worth, I was a sociology major myself. I got my bachelor's degree in sociology, and then I went on for my master's in counseling, looking specifically at student development and higher education, which is to work with college students. And so that's kind of my background. So do any of you have any questions that you want me to start off with, or before I go into kind of this PowerPoint setup? I know I got 2 questions from Joy, so I will make sure I answer those questions as I'm going through. No? All right. We'll get started and we'll see if some questions come up. Feel free to ask a question out loud. Feel free to put information, questions in the chat. I'm totally open to either option, whatever you're most comfortable with, to get the questions out there. Okay, let me share the screen here. I think what I'll do here is just really quickly, I don't want to go into a lot of detail on this, but I want you to understand that you're part of the system of higher education in California. In the system of higher education, you've got, of course, the community colleges, which are in, but in the public school side of things, we have the Cal State universities and the University of California options. And then beyond that, we have our in-state private schools and out-of-state schools. So in reality, you have thousands of options of schools to choose from. And so I think that's a really important piece of what's out there, is for you, if nothing else, to understand that you have options. And I apologize in advance. Someone just knocked on the door, which means my dogs are going to go crazy. Oh, they're doing pretty good, actually. Okay, so I just want you to know, and don't limit yourself based on where you think you can get into or where you think you can afford to go. I think it's so important for you to know that, if you have a school in mind, that's some dream school, then why not shoot for that? We've had students at Cerritos College who've gone to Yale, who've gone to Columbia, who've gone to Stanford, who've gone to Berkeley, who've gone to Long Beach, who've gone to San Diego State. I mean, we've just got students who go all over the country, and you don't have to limit yourself. And I think you kind of have heard that a little bit from the students who spoke to you just recently about all the experiences that they've had and the cool opportunities. And I am totally jealous, because I'd like to go to Italy myself for a couple months. That'd be amazing. It's one of the things I truly regret not doing in college, is studying abroad. So learn from that one. Think about study abroad. I think it's an awesome opportunity. While you're here at Cerritos, you have opportunity. What you're basically completing here at Cerritos is your freshman and sophomore level courses. So by the time you finish at Cerritos and you transfer to the university, you will be transferring as a junior. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. You're not going to have to start all over again. You're not going to have to do another 4 years. If you're full-time, then you're looking at probably another 2 years at the university in order to complete your bachelor's degree. And then from there, of course, once you have your bachelor's, you can go on and go to work. You can go on and just get that experience. You can go on for your master's. You can go straight to a doctorate. You have definitely possibilities, or professional schools. Maybe some of you would like to go on to medical schools, law schools, etc. So, I mean, there's so many different possibilities, and sociology is so broad that you have, again, you don't even have to limit yourself based on careers you want. You can really go in any different direction as a sociology major. So what you're doing here at Cerritos, your freshman, sophomore level courses are going to be built into these 3 pieces. And hopefully this is familiar. Hopefully you guys have all heard this before, at least as part of it, where you've seen that you're going to be focusing on your general education classes, your major classes, and then electives as needed. I do want to point out that you may need elective classes. If you follow Plan B or Plan C, that's around 30-something units. Your major classes are about 18. Sometimes, especially if you're really good about overlapping your classes and counting them towards your major and your general education classes, you'll find that you're not going to hit your 60 units to transfer. And so I think it's really important that you know that you may need to take a class or 2 extra. It could be something for fun, or maybe another class that you always wanted to take in your subject, but you may need a class or 2 more to make sure you reach that 60 units. I think every year I see students who think that they're done, who've applied to the university and end up having 57 units. And the university, you can't get in without 60. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you have these 3 main pieces, and the electives are important because we want to use that to reach that minimum 60 to get an associate's degree if you want one, and then definitely for transferring to the university. Okay. So there's all different possibilities. I'm just gonna say, I know most of our students would like to go to the public school, so I'm gonna go more detail about the public institutions in particular. A lot of times people ask me what kind of the differences are between the Cal States and the UCs. And so for the Cal State and UC part of it, you know, the Cal States offer bachelor's and master's degrees, but they don't always offer doctorate degrees in every subject. So they don't offer the PsyD, or they don't offer the PhD, or they do offer some educational doctorates, where the UC campuses offer bachelor's, master's, doctorates, as well as professional schools like law schools and so on. So I have a question in the chat here. It says, can you go from obtaining a bachelor's degree to a doctorate degree? Would I not need a master's in order to get a doctorate? You actually, depends on the program you're looking for, and how comfortable you feel with doing the kinds of research papers that are going to be needed to do a doctorate level course. I have seen students who've gone directly from a bachelor's into a doctorate level program. So it depends on the program itself and how comfortable you are doing your research. A lot of times that master's level courses and the thesis that you have to write for your master's degree really help prepare you for your doctorate dissertation that you're going to have to do. So it is possible to go straight from a bachelor's to a doctorate, but a lot of times people will go through the master's and then the doctorate just to kind of build their skills and their research expertise, so that when they get to the doctorate level, they're more comfortable with types of classes. Okay, great question though. Also, the differences between Cal States and UCs, the Cal States are more known for theory and practice in the classroom, where the UCs are more known for theory and research. There are some differences in the types of programs being offered. Like for Cal States, you'll see programs like social work, but you won't see that program at UCs because it's a very hands-on practical major, versus sociology, which has got a lot of theory and research. So really that is offered at both the Cal States and the UCs and the private schools. Cal States are offered part-time as well as full-time, as well as, evening courses. UCs are really expecting you to be full-time at the university, and to kind of work your way through more quickly in daytime classes. So that's something that's big and definitely want to keep in mind for the UC versus the Cal States. Tuition obviously is there. It's more expensive to go to UCs. And so again, I get a lot of students who say, well, why should I go to a UC if it's more expensive? But I will say that UCs actually have some great opportunities for scholarships and for what they call the blue and gold. And the blue and gold allows students to go to the university for almost nothing. So if a student makes $80,000 or less, and you fill out the financial aid form, whether it's the DREAM Act or the FAFSA form, if you make $80,000 or less, they will cover the cost of your tuition at the UC. So you don't have to pay any tuition to go to a UC if your family makes $80,000 or less. They also have a middle class scholarship, where if your family makes more than $80,000 but less than $190,000, you can still get some funding that will go towards your covering the cost of your tuition. So that $13,000. Okay. So again, I think what I'm trying to put out there is not to limit yourself based on where you think you can afford to go. It's important to, to open your options up, and you won't know what you can afford until you apply and get your financial aid award. Okay. All right, did I skip any? Let's see. Okay. So I think that's important. So yeah, I definitely think that there's there. Let's see, there's another question. If I go through a master's and a doctorate, how many years would I include? Ballpark. Okay, so for your bachelor's degree, once you complete your classes here at Cerritos College, then if you're full-time, you're probably going to take about 2 more years at the university to finish off your units to get your bachelor's degree. Your master's degrees, it will vary depending on the school that you're going to. Mine was actually a very large master's degree. It was 48 units. And because of that, it took about 2.5 years to finish my master's. But then there's others that will only take a year or 2. So I would say it depends on the master's degree you choose as to how many units you'd have. And again, if you go full-time or part-time. But I would say 1 to 2 years for your master's. And then doctorate's usually 4. Okay. So you figure 2 more years at least for your bachelor's. a year or two for your master's, so that's 4, and then your doctorate, which is another 4, so that's 8 total. Okay, and that's probably being a little bit on the generous side of things. So it may take you less time depending again on whether you're going to school full-time, part-time, and how big your master's degree program is. I think a lot of the master's programs are closer to 30 units, and so in which case you could get it done in a year if again you're doing 15 units at a time, which is a lot for a master's program. Okay, good question though, I love it. All right, so some of the minimum requirements to consider for admissions purposes, this is just for your application to be looked at the Cal State system. This does not mean you're competitive in any way. This just means that your application will be looked at, okay? You must have 60 CSU transfer units, okay? 30 of those 60 units must be from your general education. If you follow Plan B is specific to the Cal States, that's 39 units, and so you'll easily reach that 30 units there. If you want to follow Plan C goes to both Cal States and UCs, and some private schools for that matter. That actually is 37 units. Again, will easily help you to reach the 30 units you need. Okay. In addition to the units, you need a minimum GPA of a 2.0. And in particular, you also need what they call the Golden 4, and the Golden 4 are your English 100, your transfer level math, which is statistics, your critical thinking class, and your oral communication course. So these are the main classes to be considered for minimum admissions, okay? There are a couple of schools that are surrounding us that actually have these minimum requirements and you can get into. Dominguez Hills, CSU Dominguez Hills allows students in with these minimum requirements because they are currently not impacted. And basically what that means is they can accept all students as long as they meet these minimum requirements. There are other schools like Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Fullerton that are at maximum capacity, and because they're at maximum capacity, they can only let a certain number of students in. So they call them impacted because they're receiving more applications than can be accepted. In those particular cases, these minimum requirements, having this is not enough. So if you want to go to Cal State Fullerton, last year, the minimum GPA to get into Cal State Fullerton was a 3.2. Now the GPA can range, vary from year to year based on who's applying with you at that time. But for the last couple of years, it's between a 3.2 and a 3.5 to get into Cal State Fullerton, as an example. For Cal State Long Beach, another popular example for a lot of our students, if you went to a local school for Long Beach, meaning you went to any of our local high schools that are surrounding Cerritos College or the Long Beach, Los Alamitos, or Lakewood high schools, if you graduated from any of those high schools, you would be considered local, in which case you can be admitted to Cal State Long Beach with a 2.25. Okay, but for anyone who's not local, who did not graduate from a local high school to Long Beach, the GPA is usually around a 3.3 for sociology majors. Okay. Dominguez, we talked about 2.0 was fine. Cal Poly Pomona is another school that's not too far away. Pomona's just made sociology impacted specifically so that they can allow more out of area students in. So their GPA is definitely above a 3.0 also for the purposes of admissions to Pomona. And then Cal State LA, let me double check. I think, hang on one second while I double check myself here. For Cal State LA, for sociology, the minimum requirement for consideration is a 2.0 currently, but again, that doesn't mean you're competitive. That just means you have the option of getting in, and they haven't told us what the more competitive GPA is. So again, 2.0 to be considered, but the higher your GPA can be, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Any questions about this, the Cal State admissions requirements at this point? No? Okay. Now, again, because I want you to consider additional options beyond the Cal States that are surrounding us, I also want you to look at and know the requirements for the UC schools. So for the UC campuses, in order to be getting in, You need 60 UC transferable units. The GPA, again, minimum GPA is a 2.4 to be considered. And then you have 7 course pattern instead of the 4 golden 4. So those 7 courses are made up of 2 courses in English composition. That's your English and critical thinking class. They want you to have 1 transfer level math class. Again, that's your stats. And then 4 additional classes from 2 of the following areas, which include arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, and physical and life sciences. Again, if you follow Plan B or Plan C, well, in this case, Plan C, you are going to meet these requirements. Okay, so this is what they're looking for at the UCs. But what I think is kind of awesome when it comes to the UCs and the private schools is that beyond looking at just these things, these pieces, they also want to look at you as a holistic person. And so they do take into consideration, does the student, or is the student involved in clubs and organizations like the Sociology Club? Are they part of academic honor societies? Have they done special projects or research on their specific area of major? Are you, maybe do community service, or you're working full-time or part-time while you're going to school? Special circumstances, life experiences, all that's taken into consideration when you're looking at the private schools and when you're looking at the UC campuses. So they're going to look at you more holistically to see if you are a good fit for their institution. And so I think that's what's kind of cool. It's not just about what's on paper when it comes to your transcript. It's also about looking at these other pieces that you're going to be bringing to the institutions. You still got to get those good grades, but at the same time, you have these other pieces that can be built in and talked about. Exactly. Join the club. All right. So, so those are some of the things that are going on with those pieces. Now, we also have private schools. This is just a map of some of the private schools in California. There's about 70 plus private schools in California that you can choose from. So again, some amazing opportunities. And again, don't limit yourself because you think you can't afford to go there. USC is a very popular private school in California. It is very expensive to go, right? $72,000 a year. However, they give out $90 million in scholarships. And so a lot of our students who end up going to USC pay less than $5,000 a year because of the fact that they have the financial need. And USC wants to help you. If they admit you, they want you to go there, and they don't want you to turn them down because you can't afford to go there. So they're going to help you find a way to pay for it. So I think it's important to not limit yourself based on, what you think you can afford. So for private schools, everything varies because they're all independent entities. And so I can't say as a system wide they want this, like it can for the Cal States and UCs. But what I will say is, that they have the same, bachelor's degree, master's degrees. They also have professional schools and doctorate programs. Most time requirements to get in, they're looking for a minimum of 30 transfer units. So if some of you want to maybe transfer after 1 year, you could transfer after 1 year because they're only looking for 30 transfer units. GPAs will vary. At least a 2.0. I recommend trying to hit that 3.0 or higher. And the GPAs will vary from school to school. So we actually have a TAG program, which is a transfer admissions guarantee for a couple of the schools. And University of Laverne, the minimum requirement to guarantee your spot is a 2.7. If you have less than a 2.7, you can still be considered, but this guarantees your spot. For Whittier College, the GPA is a 2.8 to guarantee your spot. Loyola Marymount is 3.25. So it will vary from place to place. I think the average GPA for USC is a little bit high. It's around a 3.7, but they do take into consideration life experience. They do take into consideration, personal experience and personal life happens, and so that's an average. Doesn't mean that there aren't students who got in with less than that GPA. So it depends on the private school as to how competitive it is to get into. Okay. And for this option of transfer guarantee, we really like to get this information out to students because you can actually say to the, you can save your spot at the university a year in advance. So for the UC schools, Davis, Merced, Riverside, Irvine, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz all offer transfer guarantees. Okay. Santa Barbara and Irvine have a guarantee with a 3.4 GPA. Santa Cruz, you need a 3.0 GPA. Davis is a 3.2 GPA, and then Merced and Riverside is usually around a 2.9 GPA to guarantee your spot at these schools. And just because you do a guarantee doesn't mean you have to go there, but it gives you that opportunity to say, I have a saved spot at the university. Okay. I talked about some of the in-state private schools. For the out-of-state schools, Arizona State, Northern Arizona State, Western Oregon University. I'm just ready to take this thing out. And the historically Black colleges and universities called the HBCUs, all of them have a GPA requirement of a 2.5 to guarantee your spot at these universities. So that's an important piece. I mean, you have some amazing options. You have to kind of look outside of our little box that's surrounding us at Cerritos College, and consider some of your other possibilities. Okay. So I know I've already given a ton of information. So questions, anything that, you know, comes up so far, any concerns that you have related to anything I've talked about, or things that you still want me to talk about today about transfer? I'm open to questions out loud or in the chat if you're more comfortable.
For the UC tag schools, when we're filling out the application, is that where the tag would go, or how would we go about tagging a school?
That's a great question. So the tags are actually done, they have a separate application that's done in September, and then you have the UC application that's due in November. So it is a two-part process for the UC tags.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we want to kind of plan ahead. So again, if you have one more year here at Cerritos College, you have this year plus next year, then we want to make sure that by this summer, you have everything situated, you know, all the classes that you're considering, and we start looking at doing that transfer guarantee application for September for the following year. Okay. And I see a question in the chat here. It says, how do we better understand our options when it comes to majors at specific UCs and Cal States? For example, if I want to major in material science engineering, how do I understand which is the best fit for me? That's a great question. I think that there's a couple different things. I think it's a great option to, you know, talk to your professors, especially in professors that are in the subject areas that you're interested in. So if, you know, if you're looking at engineering, you know, material science, then I think it's important for you to check in with the professors to see if they have engineering professors, to see if they have any insight, or sociology professors in order to see if they have any insight on for your major. I would recommend looking at the school to make sure they have your major and the concentrations that you're interested in. So that's an important piece that you want to look at. And then it's also a matter of taking into consideration, okay, where do you stand when it comes to your classes and your GPA, and where do we need you to be in order to get you to that institution? And I think the final thing that I would really look at for best fit would be this idea of, you know, I know it's difficult right now to get to the campuses, but I think it's really important to be at the campus. The Transfer Center has in the past offered transfer tours. I'm hoping that next year we'll be able to come back in and offer campus tours. We usually go on about 14 of them each year. And it gives students an opportunity to go to the campus, to get a feel for the campus and what they have to offer, to walk around. You know, for me personally, it's not about what's the best ranked school. What's important to me is that it feels good. It feels comfortable. It feels like a home or a second home that you can go to and feel like you're going to do well at. I like to give the story of I was checking out universities after I applied, and I applied, you know, at the time I was having some drama in my family. So I thought I want to be as far away as possible. So I'm going to apply for the school way up north. And so I applied for the school way up north, and I got in, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go there. And my mom's like, well, you're not going to just go there. You've never been to the campus. You don't know what it's like. But I was just like, I'm going. But my mom took me up there. We took an 8-hour drive in the rain up to the Northern California school, which I'm not going to name which one it is. And we went up there, and I was on the campus for literally 30 minutes, and I hated it. I think it's really important to be able to go to the campus and get a feel, walk around, go to the department, talk to the people in the department, check out the faculty members that are teaching there, see if there's something that you're interested in, if they're researching topics that you're interested in. You know, Go to the library. You're going to spend a lot of time in the library when you get to the university, so it's important to feel comfortable there. So just, wander around. Do you like a lot of greenery, or do you not like a lot of greenery? Do you want to be in the midst of a city, or do you want to be able to be, in a college town? So those are all things that you can think about when you're thinking about where you want to go next. And for those of you who are applying now, at this point, you're just gonna have to apply and put it out there. But between now and when you get your admissions decisions, you have time to explore, maybe go visit and check out those campuses so you can see, once you get your admissions letter, which one's really gonna be the best fit for you. And although the schools are not allowing for large group tours, which is what we would bring to the universities, they are doing a lot of small group tours. So you can actually contact the school directly and ask them about doing a tour of their campus, and they will set up a tour for you. So I know it kind of depends on everything, but just there's all these different things that you want to keep in mind and consider. And so that's what I want you to put out there. Don't just say, oh, you know what, it's close to me, I'm going to go to that school. You want to find the school, like you said, it's the right fit. And there's a lot of different things that kind of, work into what that means. And so think about all those different things.
Question about the tag, actually.
Sure.
It's too late to apply for next year, I think, right?
Correct. If you're going for fall 2022 at this point, because the deadline was in September for the tag, yes, it's too late for the UC tags.
But that's not too late to say for, you can still apply though. Right?
Oh, absolutely. You can still apply to the UC schools. We're just not gonna be able to guarantee your spot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Still apply to the universities. And we are, in the transfer center, we have a ton of help available for you if you're at that point. We have overview application workshops where we review the whole applications for you and answer questions, show you some spots where there are common mistakes are made by students. We have computer lab sessions where you can work on your application, link to Zoom and ask questions while you're working on your application. And we have drop-in available where you can meet with us individually to look at your application and give it a review before you submit. So
while we're there,
yeah,
wasn't able to navigate the website of the transfer center to find how to schedule a counseling appointment there.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, is there a link you could hyperlink or in the chat or something?
Yes, for sure. Let me go into our thing. Now, what I will say is for the appointments, the best time to make an appointment is at 12 midnight. I know it sounds bizarre, but I will tell you that what happens is that our system, and we've tried to change it, but it has not allowed us to do it yet. The system opens up the next set of appointments every weekday, Monday through Friday at 12 midnight. So if you check, let's say tonight at midnight, then that will open up appointments for next Wednesday. If you checked tomorrow, tomorrow at midnight, that'll open up appointments for next Thursday. So we open up 1 week in advance, day by day, Monday through Friday. So if you don't see anything, if you don't see anything and says nothing matches, then you got to check. I literally tell students to get on at midnight, and leave your options open. Don't limit yourself to just one particular counselor. All of our counselors in the transfer center are great. So any one of the counselors you can see, look at the in-person and on-campus appointments. In-person and virtual appointments also. If you don't want to come to campus, you can switch an in-person appointment into a virtual appointment. So just don't think just because you make an in-person appointment, you have to be in person. You can ask us and we can switch it over for you. Did I answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, and that, to tell you the truth, the counseling office does something similar. Their appointments open up at midnight also, but they do appointments 2 weeks in advance, where we only do 1 week in advance. Okay. So the key is I hate to say staying up late. Okay. For those of you who are transferring, this is just to kind of give you some reminders. If you're applying for next fall 2022, which means spring is your last semester, your applications for the Cal States are due between now and November 30th. The UC application, you can start working on it right now, but it will be submitted between the 1st and the 30th. So the November 30th is a very important deadline, okay? I also like to kind of put out there that while you're applying to the university, you should also be updating your financial aid for next year to include all of your transfer schools. The FAFSA form and the DREAM Act form allow you to put 10 schools on there. So you don't have to have already been admitted to add them onto your FAFSA form. Do your FAFSA form, update it with all your new information for next year, and include all the schools you're applying to. So when you're applying to university, you're also applying to financial aid. Okay, can't encourage you to do that enough. What that does is that after you do your application update in January and you get your admissions letters in March and April, if you already have your financial aid turned in early, if you've already specified the universities, then not only are you going to get your admissions letters, you're also going to find out the financial aid packages. So they're going to tell you, this is how much we're going to help you pay for. Okay. And so it's important because that's really another piece of making that informed decision on what's going to be the best school for you, is to know that you not only got in, but also that you got this much money to help you pay for it. Okay. One of the things I also want to put out there is the, whether you're at the point where you're applying or not, the transfer center, you can come and see us at any point in your time. If this is your first semester, if this is in your first year, or this is in your middle year or your last year, we have different things that are going on for the transfer center throughout your time, and definitely you should take advantage of it. So all different kinds of things. This week is our National Transfer Week. I don't know if I have that link in the chat, so let me see if I can find it really quick. And I'll put our National Student Transfer Week events that are going on. We have a transfer basic that's coming up tonight, but that's basically what we're covered today, so don't go to that one. But we have some other stuff that are happening all week long that you should look into and take part in. Let me find my flyer to put that in the chat for you guys. There it is. So it's in the chat there for you. So we have all sorts of different things that are happening this week that you can still participate in for the remaining part of the week. And just in case you want to get in touch with us, I'll put this here and we can definitely go to the website and answer questions. And I know there's a couple questions that I want to make sure I get to. Our website, cerritos.edu/transfer. We do have an Instagram account. So if you do have Instagram, follow us. Well, again, if you're at the beginning or the end, doesn't matter. Cerritos Transfer Center. I post up there events that are happening each week. If I see research opportunities, if I see job opportunities, if I see scholarship opportunities, I post them all on our Instagram account. So follow us there. And then this email address, transfercenter@cerritos.edu, actually goes to me. So if you have a quick question that you want to ask me, feel free to email me at this email address. Okay. So I know that was a ton of information. I know I have two questions that came through here. In terms of priority, what priority do transfer students get in terms of acceptance? What I will say is that you're not competing against freshmen. There's a totally different pool of freshman spots and transfer spots because they're coming in as freshmen to try to do the same things that you've already done, which is your general education and your major preparation. You've done that part. So they're going to go in as freshmen, and you are going at the junior level. So they actually have two different transfer pools. So you are not competing against freshmen in any sort of way. So just kind of note that when it comes to that piece of it. I will also say that for both the Cal States and the UC campuses, and even for a lot of private schools in California, like 93%, 90+% of the students who get admitted to the university as transfer students come from the California community colleges. So as a California community college student, you are getting priority over those who are coming from other universities or coming from out of state or any of that stuff. So as a transfer student, you are in a good spot by coming to the community college and then applying to the university as a transfer student. I hope that answers that particular question that I got. The other question that I got was, can you be denied a transfer? And if so, how do you overcome it? This is a great question. My first thing is that you should never apply to one school, okay? The applications for the Cal States and the UCs have a built-in fee waiver. If you qualify for that fee waiver, you can apply for 4 schools for free. So I would highly encourage anyone who gets the fee waiver to apply for all 4 schools. Again, if you limit yourself and say, I only want this one school and you'll only apply to that one school, then it's a possibility that you get denied that one school and have nowhere to go. In which case you have to stay at Cerritos for another year or 6 months to a year, depending on what school we're looking at next. We were going to look at the classes and how we can, continue to, bring up your GPA, to take additional classes that you might need, and then have you reapply to additional schools for later. Okay, but that doesn't mean you have to wait 6 months to a year. So I always encourage you to apply to multiple schools. If possible, have your dream schools, but also have some backup schools just in case, so that you know no matter what, you're moving forward with your degree. And I think, you know, if you think about it, your bachelor's degree is just your first step. Many of you are probably going to go on for your master's. So, you know, if you, for whatever reason, are not able to get into your first choice school for your bachelor's degree, then you can always go to that school for your master's. So there's always possibilities in there. So really make sure you apply broadly. If you're denied, you can come see us. We can look into the possibility of doing an appeal if needed. Usually an appeal for admissions is done based on extenuating circumstances. So something happens, it was outside of your control, it impacted, you know, passing your classes or something, or finishing your classes, and then that impacted your admissions. We would be able to do an appeal for that. So we would definitely be able to assist you with that part of the process if you're eligible based on extenuating circumstances. But a lot of times, if that does happen for students, we have had that in the past where students, you know, didn't come see us, we didn't plan ahead, they didn't, you know, only applied to one school, they get denied, they come in and see us, then we look at additional options of schools, and we look at what we can do to continue to bring up the GPA, and then we apply again. And we go from there. So it's not the end of the world, but it does delay you a little bit. So that's why I want you to keep those options open. Okay. I think those were my 2 questions that I got ahead of time. So I'm open to whatever questions you guys have. I can go to the website and show you some of the stuff on the website if you want me to. Anything in particular that kind of stands out of something that you want information-wise? Do all of you know how to use Assist? The Assist website? All right, well, I will do, oops. There's a website called Assist that you guys can check out if you'd like to. They got some great information there. And I can go to our my Transfer Center website if you don't have any specific questions for me. Okay, so let me go to, we'll do this. So we'll get started in here. Okay, so just as kind of a note to self on how to navigate our college, our Transfer Center website. If you want to schedule an appointment, you can go right here to schedule an appointment. Just click on this. It'll take you to a page where you can get information that I mentioned about the fact that we, you know, open it up every day at midnight, and we have in-person and on, you know, virtual appointments. We have general workshops that you can go to. We have, for those of you who are doing the application right now, this is where you go to for your application workshops. And we have ones for CSU, UC, and we have some, just a couple for the Common App, which is the private schools, but most of those are happening next semester. So we'll have more workshops next semester for that. We also have available for you drop-in. Application virtual drop-in is so that we can review your application on a one-on-one basis, so that we can make sure there's no errors on it before you submit your application. So if you want us to double check that for you, you can come through any of our sessions. We have at least a couple hours in October, and then we have twice a day in November where students can come in and get assistance on a drop-in basis. Right now, the wait's not very long because most students will wait until the end to complete their application. So if you can get your application done early and come see us sooner versus later, then you won't have as long of a wait when it comes to getting the drop-in review of your application. Okay. For those of you who are just getting started at Cerritos, maybe this is your first semester, we do have a program called the Transfer Academy. We're closed for this semester, but we will reopen at the beginning of the spring semester if you want to put yourself like a little reminder. And this is specifically for students. We're kind of encouraging students to think outside of the Cal State option, to also consider the UC schools and prepare you for the transfer guarantees. So you can obviously still apply to the Cal States as part of this program, but our focus is trying to help students consider the additional options of the UC campuses. And then we also have lots of events that are happening for students who are part of the program. So if you'd like to kind of have a closer connection to the transfer center, again, especially if you're in your first year, this would be a great way for you to connect on a regular basis with the transfer center so we can keep you on track and moving forward. So that's on our homepage, and then just click here where it says Transfer Academy. Okay. Guarantee information is down here. Some of you may be interested in doing a transfer guarantee or a transfer, associate degree for transfer, I should say. So we do have those also listed on our website. And as you can see, sociology is right there. Okay, so we have that available if you want to look at some of the requirements that way. Let's see. Good question. If you're already part of the Transfer Academy, no, you do not need to apply again. You'll automatically be rolled over to that. Just, take advantage of all those different things that we're offering. We'll be continuing to offer another set of activities in November and December and January and beyond. So, make sure you pay attention to those emails that are being sent off for the Transfer Academy students and getting as involved as possible, because the more you put into the program, the more you're going to get out of it. And definitely my counterpart, Marvelina Graff, is the other person who's kind of in charge of the Transfer Academy. And we really try to work hard to make sure the educational plan is there and available to students. So Alicia, thank you for your input on there. Although I think you got to say it to everybody instead of direct message to me, because otherwise they won't see it. So that's, lots of things that are going on. We're trying to put together for the Transfer Academy. We did stuff like preparing for scholarships. We're doing things on, there you go, thank you. On setting up a transfer admissions planner, how to set up a brag sheet so you can start asking for letters of recommendation. Those are some of the things that we're doing as part of the Transfer Academy. So if that's something that sounds of interest to you, then again, in January, we'll open this back up for additional students who would like to add. And just in case, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know how many of you have actually used the Assist website before. Can you give me a thumbs up? Do you all know how to use them? Okay, good. We got some. Only one thumbs up so far. 2, okay. All right, so just as a quick review here of, okay, we have some more. Of the Assist website, this is where you can go to figure out what classes that you can take here at Cerritos and how they transfer to the university and the Cal States and UCs. So you can put Cerritos in here, and I put the link in the chat as well. And then you can choose whatever school you're interested in. Anybody want me to do a particular school? Anyone want to throw out a school you want me to look at? Fullerton. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at Fullerton. I'll put Fullerton in here. I hit view agreements, and then I can choose the major. Blake, are you sociology? Okay, so we'll go over here to major. We'll just go ahead and put sociology, and we'll view the agreement. And what this does, it's very cool. It gives you some information here at the top that you should always read. Okay, some schools will actually have links here that you use to get to higher, to other information. So always look at the information. And then this tells you the concentrations that they offer. So for sociology at Fullerton, they offer health and social welfare, social inequalities, and then deviance and crime concentration. So these are the concentrations that Fullerton offers for sociology. And then it says if there's specific classes that are required. So for this one, it looks like they're looking for Sociology 101 as your main class. And then the Political Science 101 is a graduation class. So these are the only main classes that they're looking for you to do here. You'll probably do the remaining classes at the university because they have a lot of their classes at the upper division level. And upper division means junior level. So you'll take a lot of your sociology classes at the junior level. Rather than the freshman and sophomore. So these are the only 2 classes that they're looking for admissions purposes. And it will vary from school to school. So if I looked at a different school, they may have additional requirements listed there. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, not a problem. And Alicia, thank you so much for putting the word out there for the Academy. We appreciate your feedback too. We're hoping that it's doing what we want it to do. We really want our students to, in the program especially, to feel like they're connected into this kind of transfer community. And so I think that's what's very cool about that Transfer Academy that we've got through. For the Assist website, you can look at other schools too, just so you can go back here and modify. And let's say I want to look at Irvine this time. I can put Irvine in here. I can specify again sociology. I can view the agreement and it will tell me again what they're looking for. And up here, it tells me what I have to have in order to be considered. Okay. And then down here, it gives me the list of classes that they're looking for. So they want the Sociology 101 and 201, and then they want 3 classes from down here. And then they want you to take 1 additional social science class. And so you can see the difference in the variations of what schools are looking for. So that's kind of cool about the Assist website, is it allows you to kind of compare and contrast different schools and what they're considering. And then again, when you come and see us for an appointment for educational plan, we'll look at this with you. We'll kind of pull it all together in order to develop your educational plan. So you know what classes that you need to take in order to continue to move forward towards your transfer goal. So those are just some of the stuff that's going on there. All right, so I think I've covered most of the stuff that I wanted to make sure I covered. Any questions from you all? You have a counselor here. I'm available. Ask me questions.
Yeah, quick question.
Sure.
So Math 112 and Psych 210, I see those as like similar courses for a lot of schools.
Right.
So those will be different requirements. So like depending on the school, right?
Most schools, most transfer schools are looking for either option. So you could do Math 112 or Psych 210. There's various, every once in a while, there's a school that says they specifically want only Math 112 or Psych 210, but most of them will accept both because they're both statistics courses. One just has more of a social science slant to it versus the other one. If you haven't taken it yet, I usually highly encourage the Psych 210 class. If you're going into sociology, just because you're going to have to do, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the computer system for the data. In any case, as part of Psych 210, you have that computer system that you're using that helps you, thank you, SPSS. I was totally blanking. I can't even tell you how many statistics classes I took with that. But I highly encourage you to take the psych statistics just because you'll have that opportunity to build that in. And go from there. Yeah, but yeah, either option usually works.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I have a question here. It says, how do we go about finding volunteer or internship opportunities? Does Cerritos College have affiliations with local hospitals and other networks that would fit with the major? Do you know, I think a great place to start off with for that would be the Career Center that we have here on campus. They have some great connections. I would also recommend touching bases with your faculty members to see if they have some connections that they have going on that will allow you to reach out to people who are in the field. Some of the schools, once you get to the university level, will build in internships, and so they'll have specific locations that you can go to. Cerritos, we don't build in the internships into our program, but I would say a good connection would be either your faculty members or our Career Center to see if they have some connections in the local area for you. That's a great question, though. We'll have to look into that some more. But I do know as part of my bachelor's degree, I definitely did internships. And actually I did a minor, I don't know if you guys have heard of human services. I did a minor in human services. And so for that one, I also did internships for that. So I did multiple internships, battered women's shelters, homeless shelters, food banks, all sorts of things. Oh yes, and there are definitely connections to our mental health worker program as well, yes. So that's a great way to do it. I definitely encourage you to, volunteer some time at different locations, so that you can kind of get a feel for what you're looking for in the next phase. Great question. Thank you, Alicia. All right, well, we're about done. Does anyone have last minute questions before I head out? Okay, I think I got them all.
So much for spending this time with us, Brittany. Very, very helpful. I'm sure students are kind of on information overload right now, and as they have time to kind of process everything, they'll reach out to you.
Absolutely. And just remember, again, you have the access to the Instagram. So I'll put this up here again, Cerritos Transfer Center. You also have access to just emailing me directly through the transfer center at cerritos.edu. So either of those options will work. If you think of a question after we're all done and we've left the session, then feel free to reach out to me and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for letting me come in today and talk to you all. And I will hopefully see you at another point in your time here at Cerritos College.
Yeah. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank
Brittany.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining this Zoom today. I hope it was helpful. You heard the benefits of joining the Sociology Club. So hopefully you can connect with us in the future. Certainly in the spring, we're looking for student support to plan some events as well. We are also hoping to next month in November to have a panel of professionals with degrees in sociology, so in different fields, to give you, a sense of sort of the next stage and the next phase on this journey. So look out for that announcement as well. Some of you may be in my intro course, which has wrapped up already. So feel free to connect with the Sociology Club via Falcon Sync, which is kind of like the hub for all of the clubs. So I'll drop that link in the chat. And if you click on that link and, I think there's like a join button or something, or like ask for information, something like that, you can, we can add you to email lists, announcements. And also we are on Instagram at Sociology Club Cerritos. So we'll be sharing upcoming events there as well. Thank you again for your time and your attention. I know we went a little bit over, but hopefully you found it helpful. Wishing everyone a great week. Take care.